Project budgets are disconnected from the general ledger's budget that you set up in the budgeting module. They have similar characteristics but are two budgets that are managed separately. With that being said, you can take your budgeted numbers from the project module and transfer them to the budgeting module to be used as a GL budget. We'll take a look at how you can transfer your project budget to the general ledger budget. We'll just jump right into a demonstration. We'll transfer a project budget to the general ledger. Two things that we'll do: we'll review the project's budget that I have pre-baked, and then we'll transfer the specific project's budget to the general ledger budget. All right, so we're going to demonstrate transferring project budget balances over to the general ledger budget. And what I've done thus far is just created a project, and I called it the project budget transfer project. And basically I created a budget for it, so let's go take a look at that. You can see that I have a cost and a revenue budget, and for every cost line I have 4 different categories, and they're all for $120,000 each, combined total of roughly $500,000. And then I have 4 revenue lines, all for $240,000, roughly $1 million. So what we're going to do here is transfer this project's budget over to the general ledger. You can do this per project basis, or if you want to do it as a generic or for all projects, or however you want to do it, you can do it from the periodic menu as well. So what I'm going to do is go to the Plan tab, and then under Maintain Forecast, there's the Copy Forecast to Ledger option. And if you remember back to one of our opening slides for this course, we talked about how the budgeting framework utilizes the forecast framework. And since we are with budgeting using the forecast framework, we can use this routine to copy forecast the ledger. So I'll just select it, and then basically you decide what type of transactions you want to bring over to your general ledger budget. So I'm going to say, yep, profit and loss transactions, anything that's hitting WIP accounts, and I'm going to leave my payroll allocation alone. I mean, that would bring over, I think it's a 5400 account or 6300 account, can't remember exactly what it is, but it's not going to bring over the payroll allocation. And then if you want to bring over budgeted transactions for specific dates, you sure can, or I should say forecasted transactions for specific dates, you can. And then basically what you do is you define what forecast model is your from forecast model. And in our case, we can either pick the original budget or the remaining. They're both going to be the same right now because I haven't logged anything to either, so I'll just pick remaining. And then you have to pick a ledger budget model, which comes out of your general ledger budgeting module. So I'm just going to pick 2017, and then if you can rerun this routine over and over again, and if you toggle this one to yes, it'll basically delete the old budget register entry that gets created and create a new one for you. And then you can force the sales currency as well. You can see, since I'm running this from a specific project, in the project ID field, it's basically saying I want project 206 or anything that starts with 206, so any of the sub-projects would come too if they had forecasted transactions. And then if you want to run this routine in batch, you can work with the Run in Background tab here. So basically I'm going to run this. What's going to happen is a budget register entry is going to be created in the budgeting module, which is considered the ledger budget. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. All right, I get a warning telling me that one of the dimensions is not available anymore because I was messing around with the dimensions. That's okay. So I'm not going to leave you hanging here. I'm not going to just say, yep, it worked. I'll go take a look at the budget register entries. So here's what I had originally. And first of all, I went to the budgeting module and then budget register entries to get to this form. So this is showing me a couple budget register entries that we had, and I'll just refresh it. There we go. And you can see that we have a new one that's got the budget type project, so it came from the project module. It's of draft status, so we haven't updated the budget balances to make this thing live yet. And there's my amounts, the $500,000 worth of costs and the $1 million worth of revenue. And I'll just go in and take a look. And what it does is it looks at those categories that are assigned to our budget, and then it uses the post and profile to figure out what the accounts to use for the cost side. And you can see that they have expense, and what the revenue accounts are as well. So that's, in a nutshell, the transfer functionality. You can basically bring over your project budgets to the GL, and it will use your posting profile to figure out what accounts to use. And then from here, you're basically handling things like normal in the budgeting module, and we're not going to get into that because there's a whole course on how to do all the different budgeting. So hopefully that shed some light on how you can transfer your project budget to a general ledger budget.